And welcome back to another episode of Financially Forever After. We are your hosts, Lindsay and
Brett the Moneymaker, Schunkweiler.
Here to give you some tips about love and relationships, as well as
financial advice,
financials, and other information that's falling into the category
financial tips.
What's happening in the world as far as finances and taxes and fill in the blank.
We're at tax time, so a lot of crazy stuff going on.
It is, yeah.
You know,
this is a crazy time of year for accountants and financial advisors.
Yep. We got some head people that are mixing it up a little bit right now.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Well, some financial people have, or I should say some federal people have been getting some emails and saying like, hey, what did you do this week? And list the 5 things that you have done this week. And if you don't reply back, that you are fired.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, we didn't really mean it, but we kind of meant it. And then we'll send another email.
Do you think they're literally reading through every single email?
I don't know.
That's like that reel. I showed Brett this reel last night, and it was like the Blink 182 song. When they got the email, they're like,
oh, gosh.
I took her out. It was a Friday night. I walked alone. That was pretty funny.
Well, yeah, if you know what you're referencing. Yeah.
Well, millennials do. Elder millennials like us know what it's referencing.
We understand that song.
Oh, I
but
see what you're saying.
What were they doing in the...
answering Elon Musk's...
GIF or whatever,
yeah. Yeah, that's bizarre. So... And then I read today an article, we're based out of Nebraska, but it was a federal employee that had like a perfect, the review of their, their job performance.
Yeah, job performance review or something like that.
And she still got fired. She got a letter saying she was being terminated. And she's like, I just had a near perfect review.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're a federal employee, I mean, it's kind of a scary time. You just don't know.
Scary time. I have people that have been working with them years. I've dealt with federal employees a very long time. I've taught a lot of federal benefit workshops for 10 plus years now.
We never really touch on, we've touched that we're in Nebraska, but you have worked with people from all over the U.S. You can use, that you've worked with. Have you worked with any federal employees outside of Nebraska?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
What other states?
Anywhere in the U.S. So Florida, Iowa.
Have you done Kansas and
Tennessee.
Missouri? Yeah. Some of the Midwest states and
absolutely.
Kansas City. So So if you, have questions for Brett, he is able to answer your questions just because we're based out of Nebraska. That's not
an issue.
Not an issue. Not an issue. He has the knowledge. So let's get into the relationship stuff today.
Yeah. What do we got going?
So I wanted to have some fun with this today because I like the topic.
Okay.
So today's topic is awkward or just flat out terrible first date experiences. So I got to thinking back to our first date, and I don't know what you would qualify our first date, if it was the one where I asked you out to a hockey game and drove and paid.
Okay.
Or
okay.
if our first date would be qualified as prom, which again I asked you to.
Well, how did that go though? Like how I in essence said, hey,
you said if I can't find a date,
if you can't find it, not that you couldn't, because I'm sure you could, but I'd be more than happy to take you to prom. Maybe
not the smoothest way of asking.
Okay, you let me know, how am I supposed to ask?
Well, I'll tell you how not to, and that's to say if you can't find a date.
I said not that you could. So how am I supposed to ask you to your prom? I don't even go to that school.
You say, hey, I know I don't go to your school, but I'd love to take you to prom if you would want to go. Bing, 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 bing,
hey,
bing.
Pretty
There's
girl.
your answer.
You're looking fly today.
What's the new?
Like, you want to go with me to your prom? I'm going to invite myself to your prom with you.
You say, I like you. Can I take you to your prom? Not a big deal.
This is what I have to work with daily.
So yeah, that one of those could have been our first dates, or I don't know, or the time where we went out to eat and then I didn't know at the time that I was lactose intolerant and I started getting really sick and you stopped and got me Tums and a Sprite. So that was really nice.
How sweet
there,
am I?
There are some awkward ones in here today, so I wanted to get into these. So this is from BuzzFeed.com, and these are just some people who had written in with their embarrassing or awkward first date stories. Some of these really made me laugh.
Okay, what do we got?
So the first one is, I just remembered the time I went on a first date to London Zoo, and at the gate, he asked if I would mind paying for my own ticket. Okay, no problem. It's a first date, right? We've talked about splitting costs. So, which I said I would, at which point he pulled out a 2-for-1 voucher. So I paid for my ticket and he went in free.
That's awesome.
It's kind of frugal, but that would be a definite turn off.
Yeah, that'd be a no.
I would offer to be like, hey, I have this coupon. I'll pay for mine and then you can use it towards yours. It's free. Gosh, that was not the right move, sir.
That's hilarious though. I love that.
Second one, the guy I was on a date with reached over to grab some bread and I thought he wanted to take my hand. So she had placed her hand in his to kind of like a gesture of like, oh, he wants to hold hands. He was just reaching for the bread. I feel like that's something I would do.
Yeah,
I'm very
you would
awkward in that
absolutely
regards. This user said accidentally farted during a goodbye hug and she ghosted me after. Probably a good time to squeeze that in and hold on to those, please. Oh, this one was really funny because it's something you used to do early on in our relationships. You do every now and then still do this, but the guy would moan every time after taking his drink. The entire night, I kept thinking how I'm being pranked for a video or something. Turns out he just moans.
Okay, so let's make sure moan. It's like I take a bite and oh, that was good.
You
not like
used to do it with your food, but
like
you would
moan.
eat and you'd be like, and
like it was so good.
I was like, what is happening? You
don't
don't
do it all
really
the
do it as
time.
much anymore.
No.
So am I a bad cook?
No, you're not.
You just don't moan anymore.
I
You
don't,
were
I'm probably
saving that
too-
from the early stage.
Probably too exhausted.
Early stage.
So.
This one is funny too. On a blonde date, the girl that I was with orders a Caesar salad and eats it with her hands. Tells me she's not big into utensils. After eating, she asks me if I have accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior and invites me to confession. That's a little bizarre. That's like a spin 180 from.
I mean, we're Christians, so I don't mind the second part. I mean, it's kind of weird to do on the first date.
Yeah.
The other, like the whole eating with your
That was bizarre.
eating with your like a sandwich is 100% acceptable,
Salad,
or a hot
though.
dog,
Like
a
Caesar
hamburger,
salad.
but a
You have dressing.
salad?
That's awkward.
Yeah, that's
and
really
you have a
weird.
problem with utensils. Like
what is she, a cave woman?
I do not know. It was pretty funny, but again, very awkward. So if you're on that first date and your date's eating with their hands, I don't know.
Okay.
Some people consider themselves furries. Maybe she thought she was a furry.
And what's the definition of a furry, Lindsay?
Furries are people who either I think they think they're animals or they act like animals. It's people who act like.
So didn't we hear, or you told me of a story, somebody, let's just say they live an hour away and their school had to change stuff up because they wanted to have like a kitty litter thing because they were considered a
litter
cat
box
or something like that.
This was not an hour away. This was not in the Midwest. This might
She's
have been on
winking,
it.
by the way, if you're listening.
This might have been at a school on the coast. Y'all can figure that out, which state that would be. But yes, definitely not in the Midwest. Not that there aren't kids who think they're furries here.
Okay.
This user had said we were going to see a movie and didn't buy tickets in advance and couldn't get 2 tickets next to each other. So we ended up sitting on opposite sides of the theater. And then the movie ended and we were just like, okay, cool, bye.
Great date.
Correct.
Great. I assume they both wanted to just see the movie. Mm-hmm. Huh? Mm-hmm. What else?
This one is funny too because it feels like something I would do. I get very awkward and uncomfortable and then embarrassed. He says, my date let me out of the car to wait on the curb while she tried to parallel park. After 3 failed attempts, she drove off and I walked home.
I have seen you try to parallel park before. You're much better now than what you used to be.
Now that it has like the sensors that help you do it,
yeah,
it's much easier.
The cameras will definitely
This one was really bad. I had a pretty bad tummy ache, but she was trying to get weird, so I just went along with it. And we were kissing on her bed, and I let out this huge fart. And we stared at each other for eternity. And then as I was trying to apologize, I puked on her bed and I ran out of her apartment. That's a really, really bad.
There's
really
no coming
bad
back from that.
There's
None of that.
No.
Yeah, I really hope he's like, I'm sorry, let me pay for all this.
Dry cleaning.
Clean it up.
Like, it's your own puke, sir. Clean up after yourself. That's nasty.
Don't just leave.
And people wonder why. Like, why didn't they call me back?
No, I'm pretty sure they would know in that circumstance.
This one's great because I get your sense of humor. I think this would be you. But 15-minute date went awfully. She asked about my dog, and I showed her a picture, and she says, wow, he looks strong. And I said, yeah, he's a jacked Russell Terrier. Instead of Jack Russell, he said jacked, like strong.
Oh.
And then she said, I don't think you're funny. So I said, okay. And I ate my food and left.
That's funny.
I mean, it's just a little dad humor.
Yeah.
Get over yourself.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I would say see you later, Felicia, on that one.
Oh, this one was good. When I was a teenager, this boy cooked me dinner at his house. It was lovely. Then his dad came home and told me about the terrible date he had. He described the woman and a few key details. I sat up straighter. I asked the name of his date. It was my mom. She was dating the son, and
oh gosh,
the dad took the mom out not knowing it was this girl's mom. I once took a girl out and we were walking by a river in my city, so we took a picture with the river behind us. She cropped me out of the picture and captioned it, much needed alone time. That was really funny. Just a few more because I just.
But I have a feeling like you get mad at me. That's something that you would do.
I feel it could have happened already. Actually,
it could have happened.
This one was disturbing. His family owned and ran a funeral home. Did not have an issue with that, but he spent the latter part of the dinner telling me what kind of makeup techniques he would use on me if I died. That's a little more. That's morbid.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Yeah. So I think I have like one or two more here. There was
one.
There was one I found that was really hilarious, and I was like, it's got to be. This is the one.
Okay.
I literally laughed for a good few minutes after this one. I had a guy once tell me on a date he had one foot bigger than the other. Not a big deal, right?
No, normal.
I didn't know what to say. Before I could stop myself, I said, so you walk round and round in circles? He was so annoyed he got up and walked out. I sat there laughing with tears for the next 10 minutes. That one was pretty good. So there you go. There's some awkward dates. So if you feel like
that doesn't make sense.
It just
we'd have to have one leg longer than the other.
Yeah, I think it's more of the leg thing. But I thought that was pretty humorous.
I like that she thinks she's funny.
That makes me laugh. That's the thing too. Lighten up, people. It's a first date. If someone cracks a joke, sometimes people are awkward on a first date. You're just getting to know each other.
So what should you do on the first date? What's the Lindsay first date parameters?
I am the worst person to ask because I am so awkward, and I would have been probably that girl talking about walking in a circle or something of that nature. I'm trying to think back of our first date.
What are you considering?
I was awkward. Anyway, when I took you to the hockey game, I had to drive because I'm a control freak, and I was like, I'll pick you up. And I don't know. It's been so long since I've been on a first date.
What was that, 20-some years ago?
Honestly, our kids are closer to taking a first date than we are from our past.
Obviously, yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying they're getting to that age.
You got a 15-year-old.
Yeah, I always tell him, as a gentleman, you open the door for the ladies, and you if you're pumping gas and she's with you or it's her car, offer to pump it for her, like just gentlemanly things like that. So,
yeah.
What would you say as a guy? What
I just think of our son when he was. So last year, he got to go to a lot of different dance competitions because our middle child has a lot of dance competitions. She's 12 on a dance competitive team. So when we were coming back from Colorado last year, remember how we had that big hotel we stopped at with like ice sculptures or ice stuff? It was
yeah.
And he told me, he's like, Dad, too bad this isn't a dance competition. with all the girls.
Oh, he was
'cause there's
excited
a
about seeing
gigantic
him.
hotel. He's like, oh, then I could see all the girls again.
Oh, he's actually looking forward to dance
He loves
competitions
it. Yeah,
this
he loves
year.
the ratio. A
Yeah.
whole bunch of gals
Yeah,
and just one of
absolutely.
him. So I'm like, yeah, bud, like, let's be smart about it.
Yeah,
You should go root your sister
gotta
on.
get his Riz on,
Gotta get his Riz on.
his
yeah.
Riz
At
master.
least that's what he says.
He's suave like that. So if you have any awkward first date experiences or things that you would like to share on the podcast, feel free to write in with those experiences.
Yeah, go to our website, financially4everafter.com. You can just click on I think it's like a spinning circle question mark deal. It has it says ask a question or leave a comment. Leave it there, and we will more than likely address it on our next episode.
On a next episode. You can also write in those comments on Instagram. We are on Instagram as well as Facebook. We also have a Spotify. We listen on Spotify. We listen on Apple. So I don't necessarily think you can write your questions there, but
No, not there. You got to go to our website.
definitely, or YouTube as well. So if you want to make a comment or ask a question on YouTube, we're happy to address those on future episodes. So what do you have today for us on the financial side?
Let's see here. So back in 2024, Ameriprise Financial, they conducted a research study. And on this research study, they asked couples, they said, how much money do you think that you need to have saved for retirement? And then they got all the answers back or whatnot. So I thought I'd ask you, what do you think is a good amount to have saved for retirement? Now, you can think of it in one of two ways. You can think of it like, hey, how much do we need? Or you can think of it as like, oh, well, I am a 30-year-old, I should save this much. I'm a 40-year-old, I should save this much. Or is it a dollar amount? Is it amount of what you spend? Or
Yeah, I would
how do you
think.
figure that out?
I think a lot of factors are in there. Like if you have kids, if you your lifestyle, do you travel a lot? Do you have a lot of expenses that you have to account for? So I don't think there's one set number for everybody. It's going to vary for each individual person.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So the thing is, before people are like, oh my gosh, I need $1 million. I want $1 million. Like $1 million is a nice round number to have. I've had couples that have $300,000 of assets and they work 4 or 5 different part-time jobs in retirement because they want to, not because they have to. And they're only working the part-time. They might do like security at like the arena or something of that nature, or just part-time stuff that they love to do.
Just to get them out of the house.
And they're saving money still.
Yeah.
Like they're only spending a couple $1,000s a month just because they have a very simple lifestyle.
Okay.
They don't need it. Can actually save money, making $20-some thousand a year.
Okay.
I also have couples that, live an hour or two away. That I got one couple that's married, husband and wife, both doctors, and they make $500,000 a year, and they have constantly revolving debt of $100,000 plus. And as much as I try to beat them over the head, like, hey, you're costing yourself anywhere from 8 to 20% on interest every single year, and just because you make it doesn't mean that you can spend it and you can just go out the door. And the wife asked me at one point in time, she goes, so I really like to retire in like 6 more years so I don't have to retake the test to become all certified again, because apparently you have to re-up the test after so many years.
Continuous
And she's
education.
like, can I do it? And I looked at their finances. I'm like, oh, well, you got about $1.5 million right now saved, and you're both making collectively $500,000, we'll just say, a year. It's gone up since then. But she's like, can I retire in 6 to 8 years? And I just look her straight in the face. I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm like, even if you saved a couple $100,000 a year, like, no, like you have no chance.
Your lifestyle.
I'm like, your lifestyle is way up here compared to the amount that you have saved. Like you're only talking $1.5 million. You spend $500,000. Like, yeah, that's 3 years.
Yeah.
And granted, you're going to get some pensions and Social Security and other things, but still, maybe that gets you 4 or 5. Like you don't have enough money. Like it's just not going to last as long. So it's not really a dollar amount that you have to have saved. It's more, what is your lifestyle and what income sources is it from? Do you have any Roth money? Do you have any tax-free money? So some people say, all right, well, I need, and there's a common rule known as the 80% rule. I'm only going to need about 80% of what I am making or spending during my working years in retirement. So when you think about that, do you think that makes sense? Do you think of that?
No, because if you're continuously, your lifestyle stays the same, but you have you have no income coming in, that doesn't make any sense.
That's good. I'm glad you're on the same page. Yeah, because a lot of people think like, oh, I retired, I'm going to be spending less money. As long as I have 80%,
yeah. You'd be spending more because you have more time in your day, probably.
That's not how people think. They think like, all right, well, I don't have to have the gas to go to work. I'm probably going to stay
but you might be traveling more. You might be guilty on Amazon more, buying things that you do not need.
I told you the other day, I was like, hey, have you had more free time lately?
No, not free time, but I'm at home working on my computer.
Because I was like, it sure seems like we're getting more purchases. Yeah. So a lot of times correlates with your free time.
I'm also a seasonal buyer. Like in the spring, I feel like, oh, it's starting to get warm out. I need to like buy to like, the outdoor stuff's coming out and like the stuff that makes you excited for the change of the season.
We need to go to one of the past episodes. We had the no purchase, the no purchase challenge or whatever for like the 90 days.
Although I did take that to heart. I've not bought clothes in a very long time.
That's good.
Yeah, so I have reduced on that.
Does that mean you can increase on the other areas, or what's happening with that? Based on that facial expression, I can say yes, that I am correct in regards to that. But anyway, like there's this common 80% rule, thinking that like you're going to spend only 80%, and it just makes zero sense to me. It's like, all right, well, you work your butt off to get to retirement, and you're telling me that you want to have a worse standard of living in retirement than what you have when you're working?
Plus, don't you have to factor in like when you're getting toward the stages of end of life and maybe you have to go into long-term care or have assisted, all those things are expensive. Is that factor into that at all?
Yeah, I would say it does, but not a lot. And here's the reason I say not a lot is there's really like 3 phases of retirement. And I put this in the book that one of the books I've written. So there's the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. So the go-go years, like, hey, let's just say you retire at 60. I'll just make it up. 60, from like 60 to 70, 75-ish. Like, you're like, hey, we're actually physically capable to go travel, to go do some of these things and enjoy life the way we wanted. We worked our butts off to get up to this point. Like, we want to enjoy retirement. Then there's the slow-go years, like, all right, well, usually from about 75 to 80, 85-ish, like, you're not moving as fast as what you did before. So you start to back off some of those things. And then the no-go years is like, hey, I'm in the retirement home, or I'm having somebody come take care of me. And really your only costs are, the cost of the home for the most part, in your food, and any medical care there. So it really goes from costs of expenses for like travel and some of that fun stuff to where it's just lodging for the most part. And typically that's less. Typically it's less unless it's like the high quality stuff. Right. And like, we need some
anymore
critical care.
Based on some of the newer, like you're going to want the higher end, like long-term care, and not placed into somewhere where they just put you in the bed and check on you once a day. Like, there's some differences. And I come from a long-term care background. I used to work with long-term care and consulting with those. And there definitely have standards with where you're putting your loved ones, because there's some real doozies out there where you don't want your loved ones to go, and the quality of care is just not the same.
And I'm actually glad you brought that up, because we actually got some life policies here recently. I got us some life insurance policies, not for the purpose that we need more life insurance, but for the purpose of actually long-term care. Because whatever the death benefit is, you can get up to half of that in regards to some long-term care benefits. So that's one way to do it, because some people are like, well, I just need life insurance anyway. Well, you can get some additional benefits from it there. There's also some investments you can get that have additional long-term care built into that. If you're like, well, that's something that I'm concerned with for later on. But big picture, there's a lot of ways to cover those expenses later on. But, thinking of how much money should I have saved, it's really a function of what your standard of living is, what your other income sources are. So are those other income sources coming from like an old 401k or an IRA or some type of retirement account? Or is it maybe a Roth retirement account? Because do you remember, Lindsay, the difference from a Roth retirement account to a traditional retirement account? Ooh, putting you on the spot. We went through this. How much are you soaking in?
Way back when, though. This was like one of our early episodes.
Not that long ago.
Roth it's something about when it's taxed, correct?
Correct. Yep. Something about the taxability.
I feel like Roth is taxed up front.
Roth, yeah. Well, so you put in after-tax money up front, yes, and then it grows. How does it grow?
Oh gosh, now you are putting me on the spot. I was like, it's great that you teach me these things, but as far as retaining them goes, not the best.
See, if I ask you enough,
It's
you're going to
something
eventually
where
learn this.
if you make too much money, you can't even do a Roth IRA.
So yeah, a Roth IRA, it's based on how much money that you actually make for the year. You know, if you make too much, you can't put into a
put it
Roth.
in.
However, you can always do a conversion Roth. So there's two different ones. A Roth IRA on like a contributory Roth is if you make more than X amount of dollars, you can't do it anymore as, you know, somebody that makes money and is a wage earner, whether you own a business yourself or you're just a W-2 or 1099 employee. If you make too much, you can't do it. But a conversion Roth, and that was a contributory Roth I just spoke of. A conversion Roth is you have old 401k, old IRA money. You want to take it and say, hey, I want to pay the taxes and then move it to a Roth to where that money now grows tax-free. And you get that money out tax-free because you're like, hey, I kind of like that tax-free stuff. You can do as much as you want whenever you want in regards to that. You just have to pay taxes. Now, granted, if you don't do it right, some penalties and other things can come into play. So, you know, just reach out to somebody that does know how to do that, does know how to do that correctly, which, you know, we obviously teach taxes and retirement, a bunch of other classes like that. But there's so many different factors to figure out how much money you should ultimately have in retirement. And it's not, you should not use that rule of 80. It just doesn't make any sense because you don't want a worse standard of living in retirement
it
than
sounds
what
like
you want
you
in
might
your
want
working years.
a
Doesn't
rule
make any
of
sense.
150.
Yeah.
That you want more.
You want more money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 80 is bad. More is good.
I would say at least, you want at least the same as what you have in your
Okay.
working years because you want at least the same standard of living,
Right.
if not better.
But
yeah.
just to plan for future things that might happen. Just never
You might want
know.
to do the 120 rule.
120.
Because if your spouse or you're home enough, there might be more Amazon purchases.
I don't know who you're talking about. Well, good advice. Thank you, babe.
Yep.
Again, if you have questions for financial stuff, where can they ask those questions?
You can go to SeanCarterFinancial.com or you can go to financially4, the number 4, financially4everafter.com. Leave a question, comment. You can actually apply for a consultation with myself if you get some basic info in there and see if that makes sense to have that conversation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Financially Forever After, a Love and Money podcast. Take care.